Still going to factor quadratics today. The difference with today, our A value is going to be coming back. It's not just going to be 1 there or nothing there. We're going to have numbers in the front. So it has to work out a little differently. One of the things I've seen before was a method for this described as the magic X. That's kind of what we're going to use. Obviously, nice, magical, right? Woo. So that's what we're going to use. There's nothing magic about it. It's just a way to kind of organize what we're doing, okay? It does help to have it organized and keep doing it the same way, like if you're doing the steps the same way and like working it with the X, it's going to help out a little bit, okay? All right, so the way this works, I need you to copy this down on the front of that sheet with one of those X's. At the top of our X, we are going to put what we're looking for, a number that multiplies and is equal to A times C. I remember with the AX squared plus BX plus C, that's what I'm talking about, okay? So A is the one with the X squared, or it could be different variables. C is the constant, okay? So the top, we want to find what equals A times C. On the bottom, we're looking for what adds to equal the B value. So we're looking for two numbers that are multiplying to equal A times C and add to equal B. So pretty similar to what we were doing yesterday. Yesterday, we were just looking for the C value. Well, remember, yesterday we didn't have anything in the A value, so the A value was 1. Well, 1 times C is still just going to be C, right? On the sides, what that is when we get the two numbers, those are the two factors, we need to divide them by the coefficient, by the A coefficient, okay? Everybody at least kind of follow on that? So here's how this works. If you want, you can copy this one down somewhere on the back. I can put you a couple of them on the back. All right, so we got 3x squared plus 11x plus 10. AC, so A times C, that's 3 times 10, that's 30. So we got 30 up here. Our B value is 11. So we're looking for what multiplies to make 30, adds to make 11. In this case, everything's positive, so they're just going to be positive numbers. So we don't really have to worry about the signs for this first one. So for 30, we got 1 times 30. That's not it. 2 times 15. That's not going to make 11. 3 times 10. That's not going to be it. 4 doesn't work. 5 times 6. Well, 5 and 6 add up to make 11, right? So I'm putting a 5 over here, 6 over here. All right, then the last step where people sometimes mess up or forget to do, we got to divide by our A coefficient, okay? So I'm dividing each of these, or writing them as fractions, over the A value. And we need to simplify them. Can 5 over 3 be simplified? No. We want to keep them improper fractions. We could make it a mixed number, but that doesn't really help us for this, okay? So we want to keep it improper. We'll leave it as 5 over 3. 6 over 3, 2. All right, and like I said, we want improper fractions for this, so we're going to put it over 1. When we get a whole number, we put it over 1. So what that means is when we factor it, or when we write our answer for the factor, we got our two parentheses, our denominators. Our bottom numbers are going to be the coefficients. The numerators, top numbers, are going to be what's added or subtracted. If they're positive, we're adding. If they're negative, we're subtracting. So for 5/3 here, what that does is that becomes 3x plus 5. For our 2 over 1, that would be 1x plus 2. Well, we don't write 1x. We just put x plus 2. And if we checked, if I go ahead and FOIL this, 3x times x, that's 3x squared. 3x times 2, that's 6x. 5 times x, that's 5x. 5 times 2, that's 10. And if we combine those, that would make 11x. That gives us our answer, so we did it correctly. Any questions on that? Little bit more complicated than yesterday, right? It's still not like crazy difficult, okay? The x isn't necessarily like a requirement here, but I want y'all to do it for like these first few times at least, just so you kind of get the hang of how it's supposed to be. Like I said, it just helps organizing it. All right, so we'll look at this one. This one's got some minuses to it, right? Since we have a minus or a negative for our c value, what that means is we are going to have one positive, one negative number, okay? Which one's going to be bigger, the positive or the negative? Positive or negative, which one's bigger? The negative, because we got a minus for our b value, okay? So that means we're going to have a bigger negative. We do negative 18 times 2. That makes negative 36. We're looking for what adds to negative 9. So if needed, you can always write out the numbers that can multiply to make it. All right, so we got, with 36, I can go 1 times 36, 2 times 18, 3 times 12, 4 times 9, and we got 6 times 6. All right. We're looking for what can make 9, right? So 1 and 36, either adding or subtracting, doesn't make 9. It's either 35 or 37. 2 and 18 is either 16 or 20. 3 and 12 could be 15 or 9, so that one looks pretty good. 4 and 9 could be 13 or 5, where we're adding or subtracting them. And then that either makes 0 or 12 for the 6 and 6. So we got to use our 3 and our 12, okay? So we got 3, we got 12. Which one did we say was negative? 12, the bigger number, okay? Now we divide by our a value, divide by the coefficient. So I put it over 2. 3 over 2, can that be simplified? No. Negative 12 over 2, what's that simplified to? Negative 6, and just like before, we're going to put it over 1, okay? So now when we write it with our factors in the parentheses, I got 3 over 2, so that's 2x plus 3. Denominator's the coefficient, numerator's what's added or subtracted. For the other one, I got x, and it's minus 6 since that was the negative. Any questions on that? Not bad, right? Or not too different than what we were doing. Y'all give this one a try. I think I got it.
4x minus 3 times x plus 8.
All right, so we got negative 96 on the top, 29 on the bottom. We're looking for what multiplies to make negative 96, adds to make 29. Our middle term's positive. That means the bigger number is going to be a positive. Since it's negative for the C value, that means they will have different signs. So bigger numbers always are going to be a little bit tougher. So we got 1 times 96, it'd be 2 times 48, 3 times 32, 4 times 24, 6 times 16, 8 times 12, and I'm pretty sure that's it. All right, so we're looking for 29. Only way we can get 29 out of these is right there, the 3 and the 32. So we got our 3, we got our 32. Said the signs have to be different because we got a negative number on top and a positive number here on the bottom. So that means the bigger number, the 32, has to be positive. That makes the 3 our negative number. Okay? Then we divide by A. 3/4 doesn't simplify, so we leave that way. 32 over 4, 32 divided by 4 is 8, so we put it as 8 over 1. Then we got our parentheses. So I've got 4x minus 3 and x plus 8. Any questions there? A couple of y'all I saw had it with your signs flipped on that and had 4x plus 3 and x minus 8. And just be careful, whatever sign is on the bottom of your x, that's the sign of your bigger number. Okay, so if the bottom number is positive, bigger number is positive. If the bottom number is negative, bigger number is negative. They could both be negative, but the bigger number is definitely negative. All right, so this is a little bit different. I'm going to show you this one. All right, so the first thing I'll show you, if you do your x, right, we would have, what's that, 72 over negative 18. Since we got negative there, and it's positives for the C value, both of my factors are going to be negatives, okay? So when we're looking at what multiplies to make 72, I got 1 and 72. I got 2 and 36. 3 and 24. 4 and 28. 6 and 12. And 6 and 12, I can kind of stop there. That's going to make my 18. Okay? So they're both negative. I go 6. I go 12. I divide by A. Right? So that simplifies to negative 3. We got it over 1. That simplifies to negative 6. We got it over 1. So that means if I go and I put it in parentheses, what I have is I would have 3x minus 6. Anybody tell me what the problem is with that? Yeah, we don't get that 2x squared, do we, if we would FOIL that? All right, so what actually ends up happening, whenever you have these and your A value is a different number, sometimes you can factor out a number, okay? So that means you can divide each of the 3 terms by a number to kind of get rid of part of it, all right? I did an easy one, that's 2. These are all even numbers, right? So that means I can factor out a 2. So I would have a 2 in front. 2x squared divided by 2 would be x squared. Minus 18 divided by 2 is minus 9. 36 divided by 2 is 18. Right? Then if we're factoring that, we're looking for what multiplies to make 18, subtract or adds together to make negative 9. So that's like we just had. That's our x minus 3 and our x, not plus 6, sorry, x minus 6. Right? Everybody see how that works though? If you get something that looks kind of weird or doesn't have that coefficient in there where you think it should, that usually means you can factor out a number. I would not do the x first. I would always kind of check to see if you can factor out the number before you do the x. That way, it makes things easier for you. Because working with 18 was a little bit easier than working with 72 probably, right? So always check to see if you can factor out that number. It just makes things a little easier. Any questions on that one?